I'll beg your forgiveness if I look a little bleary-eyed. As you gather by now, I landed just yesterday from Central's great, big, 10 times high congregational trip to Israel. And if you couldn't tell from the name, this was more than just our usual trips to Israel. You're aware, many of you, that this year we're marking our congregation's 180th anniversary. This is a big simcha. This is a big, joyous occasion. And so as part of this simcha, we took the largest group trip to Israel in our congregation's history. 130 of us set out for 10 days together. Now, we were a pretty diverse group. We ranged from the age of almost 2 years old to 87 years old. We were a group who came as singles and as multi-generational families. Some of us were visiting Israel for the very first time, and some of us had been born in Israel. But all of us, despite our differences, brought with us our expectations and our hopes and our prayers. We saw and did so much. There was almost no downtime whatsoever as we went on the bus, off the bus, many buses in fact. Now, most of the time, we were broken into small groups because there are not a whole lot of things you can do as 130 people. So in smaller groups, we went and heard from experts and saw sites that taught us about the security situation. In small groups, we explored issues of pluralism and minority rights. In small groups, we rafted down the River Jordan. We climbed Masada. We excavated Hasmonean caves. We floated on the Dead Sea. We herded sheep. We planted trees. And we ate our weight in chickpeas. We connected with modern Israel, and we traveled in time to ancient Israel. And I don't want to focus on any of the things that I just listed. Some of my fellow trip participants you saw are here. Many others are live streaming, and most of them, I think, are asleep. But if you were to ask any of us what the best part of the trip was, I think we would all opt for one of several moments which are really at their core connected by something important. The most powerful moments were undoubtedly when we could come together as a whole group, 130 of us strong. I can't relate all of those moments to you, and I think, though, a few examples will suffice to demonstrate it. On the very first day, for example, we stopped in Caesarea or Caesarea, all of us together. Now, there is a famous poem by Chana Senesh set to music called Halicha LeCaesarea. Many of us know it, though perhaps by a different name. Eli, Eli, Shelo Yigam, right? Sounding familiar? Halicha LeCaesarea. And there we were, gathered as a group for the very first time, all singing together. And as our voices joined and we really filled that space with song, in that moment we knew why we had chosen to travel together as a group rather than as individuals. Because there's power in shared experiences. Similarly, on Friday night, we gathered to pray with Beit Tfilah Yisraeli, a progressive community whose music we do sing here at Central. Now, they celebrate Kabbalat Shabbat on the Tel Aviv port, overlooking the Mediterranean. And there we were with other Israelis looking out at the sea, singing psalms of Kabbalat Shabbat as we watched the sun sink slowly over the waters. And when it disappeared just onto the horizon, all of a sudden we sang Lecha Dodi, because we were officially welcoming Shabbat. We could see it. That moment took our breath away. And then on Shabbat morning, 10 adults read Torah. We were standing in Jaffa, one of the oldest cities in the entire world, and we were staring out at Tel Aviv, one of the most modern and certainly the newest Jewish city in the world. and we knew that we represented a long chain that stretches back millennia. We could feel that. Saturday night, Shabbat concluded, and we gathered on a porch overlooking the Mediterranean. We together counted 3 stars in the sky. We began to sing Debbie Friedman's Nigun, and there we made Havdalah in a tight circle, arms around each other. On Monday, 19 students around the age of B'nai Mitzvah read Torah in Jerusalem. We were standing overlooking Har Zion as Torah passed through generations of our community. Our students read ancient words, adding their voices to the chorus of Jewish history. And in their eyes and in their voices, we saw and we heard the Jewish future. A few moments when we all stood together as a group. This week, in Parashat Re'eh, we continue through Devarim, through Deuteronomy, the last book of Torah. Now, throughout Torah, whenever we're supposed to pay attention to a theme or to an idea, there's a word typically that repeats, letting us know, pay attention to this idea, pay attention to this theme. And in this week's Torah portion, there's a word that repeats so much we can't help but notice it. And it's not just this Torah portion, in fact, it's this last book of Torah. The word is simcha. It means joy. It appears only once in the book of Genesis, only once in the book of Exodus, only once in the book of Leviticus, only once in the book of Numbers, but 12 times in the book of Deuteronomy, many of those occurring in this week's Torah portion. So why so often in this last book of Torah? It would seem that Moses, as he prepares the Israelites to continue their journey without him, is reframing our story in order to teach them something fundamental, which is that the greatest of joys are joys that are shared. Because there are actually many different words in Hebrew for joy. We could translate many different words to mean joy. But simcha is only the kind of joy that happens in the presence of a community who shares that joy with you. Traveling to Israel can be magical, but traveling to Israel as a community is magical in a way that is unique. It's why congregations do group trips. Because to have marked Jewish time in the Jewish state with our central community, to have shared our joys with one another, to have been woven into the fabric of each other's families, to have been exposed to difficult questions, and to have explored our Jewish identity, all as a group, there is nothing as enriching or as rewarding. Life is meant to be lived in community. This is simply a fundamental aspect of Judaism, one of our greatest truths that we teach. Life is meant to be lived in community. And when we stand in community, our joys are sweeter, and our sorrows are easier to bear. On this trip together, 130 of us tasted simcha in big and beautifully profound moments. And I know that we're returning to Central changed, and that Central, in fact, will be changed for us as well. Now, luckily for all of us, in case you have FOMO, fear of missing out or fear of having missed out, we have many other moments where we get to celebrate our 180th anniversary together. They're coming up, especially after the high holidays. We will have other opportunities to lift up simcha, all of us together, as we mark this 180th year, looking forward to the future. As we go, we always pray from strength to strength.